Hi guys, I'm Dimension Jumper and today we're doing my top 5 PlayStation 4 games. Now for this list I'm going over some of the PlayStation 4 games that I've been playing that I quite find interesting, whether it's been its gameplay, its graphics, or its storyline, or whatever. So for number 5 is The Witcher Wild Hunt. Now this game I quite like because of mainly its graphics. I think I quite like its graphics because it kind of pulls you into the world of The Witcher. And I really like even though I played a part of it, not a whole lot yet, I still need to play a lot of it to really get my feelings of how I like the game. But I still like it, from what I've played, and I really like how this does a lot of things that's quite cool, like how you fight monsters, you meet different characters, meet various beasts, elements, and various other stuff that I quite enjoy, and what I've seen from playing the game, and it's really quite cool. For number 4 is Jedi Fallen Order. Now this is quite one of those interesting Star Wars games because it doesn't necessarily focus on the main characters from the original trilogy or the new trilogy or whatever, because I really like how this focuses primarily on new characters and new lore to the game. Even though we've got the same Jedi, we've got the same Sith, we've got the characters from both sides of the conflict. I just really enjoy how this expands the Star Wars lore, and how there are other Jedi besides Luke and Obi-Wan trying to fight the Empire, and I just really like a lot of the places you go to, and especially how you can get a dual lightsaber, and how you can through the game you can basically use 2 lightsabers, how you can unconnect your lightsabers. I want to just use that. I think it's quite cool, and I really like a lot of the skills you can learn throughout the game. And yeah, I really like the main character because he's kind of trying to forget his past of how the Empire took over and used Order 66 to basically kill every single living Jedi. And yeah, I think this is quite a cool looking game. For number 3 is God of War. Now what I really like about God of War is that apart from using several lore elements from the previous games, like Kratos, the Blades of Chaos, it also has Norse mythology instead of Greek mythology, and I think that's really cool of how the game expands itself, and it uses several elements from when Vikings talked about the Viking gods like Thor, Odin, Loki, Jotunheim, Midgard, Asgard, various other gods and worlds, and yeah. I really like how you can meet some of the characters of the game, like how you can meet these 2 dwarf brothers who are fighting over who's better at making weapons and stuff, and how you can meet Freya, who is basically a god that you learn out throughout the course of the game, and how she's willing to help out both Kratos and his son Atreus. And mainly I really like Kratos and Atreus' relation throughout the game, because I like it how at the beginning of the game Kratos is basically this kind of stoic kind of character, and how he acts towards his son kind of all knowing and all wising and other stuff. And I like it how throughout the course of the game he kind of slowly opens up to Atreus about his past and where he came from and how he's a part god. And I really like how Atreus changes as well, because of how he begins off as this son who wants to explore the world, but then when he finds out that he's a god, he becomes more arrogant, more strong-headed, a bit like his father. And I think that's really cool of how these sort of things happen within the game. For number 2 is Spider-Man PS4. Now, I really like this game, mainly because I'm a Spider-Man fan, but I just really like how this game introduces a lot of cool things. One of the things being Mr. Negative. I really quite like Mr. Negative and how he's used within the game and how he wants to unleash Devil's Breath. And I also like it how they bring in the Sinister Six, and I really like the Sinister Six and how they've made some of the characters from old comics, and they introduce some new characters to be part of the Sinister Six. Some of those members are the Vulture, Electro, the Rhino, the Scorpion, Mr. Negative, and Dr. Octopus. I just really like how this game just brings in those characters to become one team. And I like it how when Spider-Man isn't being Spider-Man, he's just dealing with everyday problems like, his rent, his relationships with his aunt and MJ, and I just really like how they're both Peter Parker and Spider-Man mirror each other in terms of story, because with Peter he's kind of struggling with his day-to-day life, where Spidey might be struggling with how to defeat one of the members of the Sinister Six or members of Mr. Negative's gang or something like that. And I really like the end credit scene of how Norman sees Harry in that kind of tank thing and how he's trying to find a cure. And I really like to see Harry come back as Venom, as well as Norman as the Green Goblin, because I think it's kind of inevitable for them to be brought into the game. And number 5 is Persona. And number 5. Number 1 is Persona 5. Now, what I really like about Persona 5 is it's kind of like an RPG combined with The Sims, and they kind of fuse together, kind of they're doing I think Dragon Ball. I'm not 100% sure. I could be wrong about that, but and I really like how it kind of the game kind of revolves around how the main character is trying to free society and trying to be recognized in the public eye. And I really like a lot of the characters, Ryuji, Morgana, Makoto, so some of the members of Phantom Thieves, but also other characters like Sojiro, Sai, Hifumi, and a lot of other characters. And I really enjoy the gameplay and how it uses a lot of RPG elements, the moves, how some moves are weak to certain enemies, how certain attacks can be from the main characters that aren't using the personas can be good against certain shadows, how a gun is good against several pixies and stuff, high pixies. And here's what I'm talking about, what I mean by some of the shadows. And I really like the social stats, how it might do one thing, let's say if you do something at school, get a question correct, your knowledge will just go up, from 1 to 2, in an instance. And I think that's really cool. So yeah, that's been my top 5 PlayStation 4 video games. Hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.